Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. This is the third podcast I'm doing about me, actually, so a bit unusual for me. We usually do more. Great to see you all again. Guess what? Where many hats are on the road. Yes, we are not recording in our usual location. Today, we are at the Royal Exchange, which, if anybody from the city will know, is one of the most beautiful buildings in central London. And today, we are chatting to Janet Leatherland, who is the shopping centre director at the Royal Exchange. How you doing, Janet? You all right?
Yes, very good, thanks.
You having a good day?
Very good.
I nearly got your surname wrong there. Did you realise?
A lot of people do that.
How do you pronounce it properly?
Leatherland.
Leatherland.
Yes.
See, I paused in the middle.
I know. Most people do Leatherhead.
Leatherhead.
Yes.
Well, at least I didn't go that far.
No,
Which is really
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
How's your day been?
Very good, thanks. Yeah, not bad.
And yeah, thank you.
Very cold day.
It has been very chilly, hasn't it? Yeah.
Really cold.
My ears have taken a bit of a battering, to be fair. Honestly, they got bigger today. I'm telling you. You know, as you get older as a man, your ears get bigger.
I know, they do, don't they?
Mine's grown about a quarter of an inch.
It's a terrible thing. Why do men's ears get bigger?
I don't know.
Very bizarre.
I'm sure we'd rather it was infants. But unfortunately, it's the nose and the ears, isn't it? Unfortunately. That might be a bit X-rated.
So
but yeah, thank you for welcoming us to the Royal Exchange. You know, we don't get out on the road very often, so thank you for allowing us
to
record the podcast.
They don't let you out very often.
No, God, no. I'm only allowed out on Wednesdays and Sundays, and that's about it.
You're very welcome. I mean, it is the most glorious building to visit.
Yes, beautiful.
So I'm really glad that you phoned this morning and said, can we come to you instead?
Yeah.
So yeah, amazing. If I'd known you would be on the road, I would have asked you to come here anyway, because I'm very pleased to show off my amazing building.
It is amazing, and well done for the candy canes out the front. That looks absolutely fantastic.
Yes.
I think this is the first time I felt Christmassy when I approached the Royal Exchange today.
We've always been a bit more subtle, I think, with our Christmas decks, and that I think is a massive statement of it's Christmas at the Royal Exchange.
Yeah.
We've worked with Fortnum and Mason to put that enormous Christmas tree up as well.
Yeah, looks amazing.
So very, very pleased with Christmas tree and candy canes.
Yeah.
Nah. I think it's a real statement.
It looks really good.
Yeah,
really
and the amount of people out there that are stopping and taking photographs is phenomenal.
Quite interested in that it's the first time anybody's ever actually thought about it, because when you look at it, you're like, that makes sense.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
But it's never been done before.
No.
Yeah,
no.
Absolutely crazy.
No, and it's quite a technical feat to have got it up there, because
of course,
you also can't fix anything to the building because it's a grade 1 structure.
Yeah.
So they just basically strapped very tightly to the top of the column.
Right.
And then wound down.
Yeah.
And secured at the bottom.
Right.
So a bit of a feat of magic, really. Well, obviously Santa came over the weekend and installed them.
Yeah. Well, he's got to put a bit of graft in before that one day a year he works, doesn't he?
Yeah. So very, very pleased with them.
Right. How long did it take, out of interest?
It took them all weekend, but it only took them the weekend. So they started Saturday morning, and then it was a great effort in conjunction with our marketing company, Fear and Folk. We also work very closely with the City of London, because they've got to allow us access onto the paved area at the bottom of the stairs.
Yeah.
They gave us parking dispensation. So it was a real community effort, to be honest with you.
Yeah, because I was going to say, because actually getting approval for something like that would generally be quite difficult, I would assume.
I think it depends on the people that you're working with. We have worked very hard to form really good relationships with all of our neighbours.
Yes.
Lots of key stakeholders. I sit on the board of the Business Improvement District.
Oh, right.
I go to as many events as I'm invited to in the City of London. There is a lot of...
Oh, you're probably never at IMA, Janet. There's loads around here, isn't there?
There are a lot of things that one can get involved with, and we really try to make everybody feel like we are part of the neighbourhood, welcoming. We want to work with everybody. So when you then want to go to those neighbours and partners and say, can you help us deliver this?
Yeah.
Then they are far more willing to help you. And yes, they turned things around incredibly quickly. So we are, we wouldn't have been able to do it without the guys at the City of London as well. So it was a real joint effort.
Oh, fantastic. Well, listen, anybody listening out there, you have to come and visit this building prior to Christmas. Looks absolutely amazing. A picture or something you may see on the television will not do it justice.
No.
Make sure you get down here and have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee in the Royal Exchange.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Janet, I always start with really, really easy questions. Okay.
Uh-oh.
So tell us a little bit how you ended up within facilities management, how you became to become a facilities management professional, and how you ended up where you are now.
Well, that's an interesting story, because it was definitely more by good luck than good management.
So you're the first person that said good luck rather than it was an accident, so well done.
Right back to the very beginning, I left school and started on a youth training scheme. For those of us that are of a certain age will know what a youth training scheme was.
I remember OITS.
£17.50 a week, and you went to work in an office somewhere, anywhere. I didn't want to go to university. I didn't like school.
Right.
University wasn't for me. So the careers officer wasn't really very enlightening. It was sort of, you can go to be a secretary or you can go to be a teacher. That was about it.
Very limited options.
Very limited options. So I went down the secretarial road.
Right.
Worked in various companies, and then I was in Preston in Lancashire. My boyfriend at the time said, I'm going to go and work in London. And I thought, oh, okay, well, maybe I'll go and try that as well. So packed my little bag and came down to London with him.
Yeah.
And ended up I worked in lots of different property companies as secretary. I was at JLL, Hillier Parker that was.
Right.
And then I ended up, very interestingly, working for a couple of South African guys who were starting to do what was to become Ocado, the supermarket deliveries. Before supermarket deliveries were ever a thing and we could ring up and get all of our groceries delivered, which must be 22, 23 years ago.
Wow.
So it was a real dodgy job, because I ended up working out of their flat in the back end of Battersea, which was really difficult to get to.
Yeah.
I was promised a company car, which never arrived. So it was a bus and a train, and it was awful. It was awful. And I clearly wasn't of the right caliber when their very wealthy father came over from South Africa.
Right.
And I got the sack. Basically, it was a very brief role, but it led me then into having to go and find some temp work somewhere.
Right.
So I ended up working for Donaldson's, which was a property management company at the time.
Yeah.
Eventually sucked into DTZ.
Yes. Which then got sucked in by somebody else.
Yes, exactly. Everybody seems to get merged into somebody else. But I worked for a woman called Eileen Connolly, who was the marketing manager at Donaldson's, but also did shopping centre marketing for lots of different clients.
Okay.
Hammerson was one of them. So Brent Cross and the Oracle in Reading.
Yeah.
Buchanan Galleries she did. And at the time, something called the Sheffield Development Corporation, I think, or company, which was Sheffield City Council trying to make Sheffield a more interesting and amazing place.
Still not managed
at the time. No. And at the time when local authorities had money and they weren't all going for bankruptcy.
Yes.
Anyway, so I worked for Eileen. It was the most amazing job, and I was only ever the temporary secretary.
And that was more sort of in the marketing space?
That was in the marketing space, and I had no marketing experience. It was literally a secretarial role.
Okay.
And I'd see all these young girls come through applying for the role of marketing assistant.
Yeah.
And then I'd see them all trot back out again. And one day she walked past my desk and she literally threw a piece of paper at me and she went, "You can have the bloody job if you want it."
Huh?
I was like, okay, thanks. So I got the job literally.
Wow.
Because I was there and I'd been doing it by
default, really. You had the experience because you did it. Yeah.
So she sent me on the marketing certificate and I did that. And I ended up working on events at Brent Cross, Buchanan Galleries, lots of little shopping centres as well. One in Runcorn. What's that one called? Halton Lee, I think.
Runcorn?
Yeah, Runcorn, exactly.
Testing me now. The only thing I know about Runcorn is 2 packets of lager and a packet of chip crisps. Do you remember that show?
2 pints of lager.
2 pints of lager and a packet. Yeah, that was a hell of a show. That.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. So I did that for a few years. Loved working at Donaldson's. I've still got a group of girlfriends that were graduates when I was at Donaldson's because we were all very young.
Yeah.
We were constantly out in the pubs at night. I had a whale of a time. Not sure my liver agrees, but... And then decided that I wanted to go and be a marketing manager in a shopping centre. I thought I want to go out and I want to be in one shopping centre.
So rather than being farmed out to multiple,
rather than doing lots of different ones, I wanted to concentrate on one. I got my marketing diploma and I thought, right, let me take this and go somewhere.
Yeah.
So I ended up going to Centre Court in Wimbledon, the shopping centre in Wimbledon.
I know that one. Yeah.
Yeah. And ended up going to work there for a lovely chap whose name I think was Graham something. I can't remember. He was the centre manager. I was the marketing manager. And I was nosy. I interfered in everything. I wanted to know how everything worked. What was he doing? Tell me about this. Tell me about that. I just was all over him. And I think
he probably thought you were a spy to check in on him.
He might have done. But in the end, he said, you do know that you can go and do a diploma in shopping centre management, don't you? I said, no, I don't know that. And he said, yeah. He said, I tell you what, let's ask. It was ACR Gibbs Hale at the time. That was who I worked for.
Okay.
They've been sucked into others, I think, now.
Yeah.
And so they paid for me to go and do my diploma.
Oh, wow.
So I did a diploma, learned all different facets of shopping centre management and thought, right, this is what I want to do.
Can I ask how long that course took?
It's a 2-year course.
Yeah.
It's distance learning. So they used to do it out of it's either a university or a college in Reading, and you used to go for a couple of days every subject. So there were 3 subjects or 4 every year.
Yeah.
Planning, law, health and safety, personnel, various.
Yeah.
And you do a subject, you'd have a couple of days in college, then you'd do an assignment.
Okay.
And then at the end of every year, you had to do like exams and questions and things. But at the end of it, you got a diploma in shopping centre management.
And is there still something similar out there?
There is definitely something similar.
Yeah.
I think it is a similar format.
Right.
I'm not sure. I don't know who runs it because it's not the BCSC anymore, is it? It's not the British Council of Shopping Centres. It's Revo.
Yeah, Revo is,
and I think, but I'm not entirely sure, but that still exists.
Yeah.
But it was actually invaluable for just giving you a bit of knowledge about lots of things that
technical
are
knowledge,
useful in your day-to-day role going forward.
Okay.
Service charge setting, budgeting, things like just bits of information. So that was incredibly useful. So I did that, and then I thought, right, that I need to go and be a shopping centre manager
because
somewhere.
That's what I'm qualified to do that now.
I'm qualified to do it. I want to go somewhere, but I can also use my marketing experience and my knowledge.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I met him, but there was a guy called Alan Thornton who at the time must have been a marketing manager in one of the businesses. Anyway, there was a job going at Windsor Royal Shopping, which is the one opposite the castle with the train station.
We know it very well. Yeah.
Yes. So I got the gig. And
so
I
you used to
manage
Windsor Royal?
So I managed Windsor Royal. But again, that was probably... Well, I got married when I was there, and I got married in 2003.
Right.
So that's what, 20 years ago?
21 years?
Yeah, something like that.
That sounds terrible.
So I was there for a long time. I know, a long time ago. Yeah. So I was there for about 5 years.
Okay.
Loved it. Absolutely loved it. It's almost a similar vibe to here in the sense that it's very old, it's very historic.
Yeah.
You've got the pageantry and the royal connection and all the things that go on, ceremonial, they're parading, changing of the guard every week and all of that. And I love all of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it was brilliant. So I loved it.
Right.
So I was there for about 5 years. And then where did I go? God, I should have read my CV, shouldn't I? I can't think where I went. Maybe I went to the Brunswick.
Hang on, I've got your LinkedIn up here.
Yeah, have a look. Was it the Brunswick? Russell Square?
I
think it was.
Well, see, yes, it was, yeah. Cushman and Wakefield.
Yeah.
The Brunswick, Bloomsbury. Yeah.
So, do you know that?
I don't actually, which is quite unusual for me because I know the shopping centres.
Opposite Russell Square Tube Station.
Right.
It is a very brutalist. It's an example of the first shopping centre that combined retail with residential above. And it's full of flats above it. So the ground is all retail.
Yeah.
And then above it are lots of flats. And a lot of it at the time, probably not now, it's probably privately owned, was Camden social housing.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
So it was bought by a guy 10 years before he managed to get it redeveloped into what it is now. It was anchored by a Waitrose. It's got a Curzon cinema in it.
Yeah.
Again, quite a quirky building, not your normal, what I would call a normal shopping centre.
Yeah, because that must have been quite unusual, because that was kind of the start of that whole, you'll get planning if you build flats as well.
Yeah.
You know, so it was a new way of doing it, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think it always had the retail at the bottom when it was built.
Yeah.
But it was never a success. And it's almost at the back end of King's Cross. So you can imagine the type of clientele that were in there in the 80s and the 90s. It wasn't a very nice place at all.
No, yeah.
And it was quite challenging to bring it up to the aspirations that he had when he bought it. I mean, it was hugely visionary to buy it 10 years previously and then think, this is what I want to get it to now.
Yeah. So just basically bought it and sat on it for a period
basically,
of time.
And I think worked very hard with the local authority, Camden, to get the right permissions and develop the right scheme. Amazing, a beautiful building. So I was there as it was being redeveloped and, you know, opened all the retail units as and when they came on board, and then ran it for a few years. And then the same company that owned that also owned Spinning Fields in Manchester.
Yeah, I know Spinning Fields very well.
Yeah, so I went, he said to me, I need a centre director there. Why don't you go to Manchester? And I thought I was homesick for the north.
I've been there, Janet.
And I went and I wasn't.
I've been there. I moved back up after COVID, spent 2 years and then moved back down.
Well, I lasted about 6 months. And
really?
They didn't really want me. Like me, I didn't want them like them. So we sort of...
You become different, don't you?
Parted.
Yeah.
I think I thought that I would go back and socialise with my parents and my brother and his wife. And of course, you've completely changed as a person. You've moved away. Everybody else has changed.
Yeah.
You just don't fit.
Yes,
and it was a disaster. It was an absolute disaster.
Oh, God, I'm sorry to hear
The only saving grace was that I didn't sell my flat. I just let it out.
Oh, well done.
I had
well done.
a property to come back to.
Yes, well done. Well done.
So I sort of struggled then because at the time I couldn't get back into shopping centre management. There was no...
It was around 2008 as well, wasn't it? So you got financial crash.
Yeah.
Everything going
really
on in terms of business then.
Yeah. So I ended up working for Network Rail.
Right, okay.
Which was a very much an eye-opener of how a not quite government-owned business...
Quasi-government owned, isn't it?
Quasi-government-owned, union-managed, enormous... beast of a organisation runs.
And waste.
And and attitudes, behaviours. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating.
That must be really odd.
So I was the person that ran everything on the railway stations. Network Rail only own and run about 8 railway stations. So Glasgow, Edinburgh, Leeds, Manchester, Liverpool, Euston.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Victoria, all the Charing Cross, all the London ones apart from St Pancras. All the others are run by the rail companies that operate out of them. So they only have those.
Right, okay.
So
they have like the hubs, if that makes sense.
So I worked in the department that ran all the retail on the railway stations, and I looked after everything that made money that wasn't a shop. So newspaper distribution at the time, vending machines, lost luggage. What else did I run? Toilets at the time when you had to pay to pee. So all of that stuff I used to be responsible for.
Right.
So it was fascinating, really interesting, and sort of ended in disaster, really, when I I did something that didn't tick boxes that I should have ticked.
Okay.
And I was basically sacked.
Oh, right.
We won't go into too much detail on the podcast.
Fair play for admitting it. You know?
Yeah.
But these things do happen.
It was horrendous. Yeah. And so I then, luckily, knew through a friend of a friend, knew of a small property company that was starting and needed an administrator. So basically I was back down the snake. I'd climbed up the ladder. I was back down the snake.
Happens to the best of us.
It does. But I had a job to go to. I had a mortgage to pay. So I went and did that probably for a couple of years. Was a very, very, very overpaid office girl, frankly.
Janet, during 2008, I came back to the UK from New Zealand.
Yeah.
Right? And I had a great job in New Zealand. I ran a finance company branch and I was an account manager for a photocopier company. I'd had a really good career. I came back to see if I couldn't get a job anywhere. I ended up working in a gala bingo hall in Bexley Heath.
Did you?
And delivering pizzas out of Pizza Hut and Sidcup just so I could pay the bills. You know? I didn't do it for long, but I still did it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have a choice.
No.
Yeah. So I think much respect to anybody that's prepared to, you've climbed up the greasy pole, but then unfortunately sometimes you've got to come back down it.
You do.
And if you're prepared to go out there and do whatever needs to be done to pay your bills, more respect to you as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I know. And it was incredibly challenging, but we have to take these experiences positives, don't we?
They make you
move on.
They make you a better professional.
They definitely make you a better person and a better professional. So I did that. Then I think they eventually realised that I was a very expensive office girl.
Yeah.
And again, made me redundant.
Right.
So then had to find something else. And interestingly, when I was working at Network Rail, I'd been working with a company called Buybox, who were trying to put delivery lockers onto railway stations.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of
so
them.
A bit like Amazon, InPost, all of those kind of things, and wanted somebody who could go and talk to shopping centre managers and understand the logistics of, well, where can we put a locker? Why can't we put it there? Where do we get the power supply from? How do we do the permits? How do we do the deliveries? And of course, because I had all of that experience from running a shopping centre, I think I was quite well placed to do it.
You were able to bring it to bear, yeah.
They weren't incredibly successful, but it was a very good 6-month period for me where I earned quite a lot of money because I was a consultant for them. I travelled all over the country, but I delivered what they wanted me to deliver.
Yeah.
I just think that they were also, Amazon were just getting their foot in the door.
Yeah.
And I think Amazon were beating them at every location that they wanted to get into.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So that was slightly challenging. At the same time, obviously, I was looking for a role.
Yeah.
And a chap called Roger Fulford, who is at one of the property management companies, phoned me and said, bearing in mind I live in Streatham, I've got a shopping centre in Wales, Janet, that I need a babysitter for.
Oh, nice.
What do you think? And I went, well, okay, fine.
Yeah.
He said, if you go down midweek, I'll pay for your accommodation for a couple of nights. Go and do it. Drive down on a Monday, come back on a Thursday.
Yeah.
Look after it for me till I find a person that will go and do it permanently. So that's what I did. I did it for 6 months.
Yeah.
I used to drive down on a Monday.
Yeah.
Stay a couple of nights in a little B&B.
Yeah.
Drive back on a Thursday. It was amazing. I loved it.
Really?
Yeah. Really, really, really interesting, different. A little town, Carmarthen it was.
Yeah, I know Carmarthen.
Beautiful town. And a really good place to be. Fresh air in the middle of the countryside.
Yeah.
always had the same place in this little Airbnb. So it was a bit like a home from home.
Yeah.
You know, you looked at the menu and it was like fish and chips, sausage and chips, egg and chips. And eventually I said to them, do you think you could just make me a salad or something? And they were like, yeah, okay, we'll do that every week.
Sounds like my kind of menu, that, tell you.
I know, but week in, week out, you're just like, I can't drink any more red wine and eat this again. I've got to do something.
I don't know about
sensible.
sausage and chips with red wine. Like, you know, it's a bit over the top, isn't it? Should have had a can of lager.
Yeah, well.
What's going on?
Well,
you know the girls, you like a pint, don't you?
I've tried to move away from that.
Yeah, you're more sophisticated now. You live down south.
We're at the Royal Exchange.
Yeah, we're at the Royal Exchange, yes.
Yeah, so I did that, but one day he phoned me and said, we've got an opportunity for a shopping centre in Hounslow.
Where we first met.
Yeah. And I went for the job and got the job.
Yeah.
And was there for 9 years.
Yeah.
Far longer than I'd ever been anywhere, actually. But I think COVID in the middle of that.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was unfortunately diagnosed with cancer, which was incredibly stressful through COVID. And so for me, it was very much my safe place. I could go there and I knew I could do the job with my eyes closed. I didn't work from home through COVID because I didn't like working from home. I wasn't very good at that. And that didn't feel like the norm. Yeah. And I wanted it to feel normal for everything that was going on at home.
Yeah.
I needed it to be normal. So,
yeah.
So I stayed there a lot longer than I think I ever thought I would. I'd never stayed there I'd never been in a job for that length of time.
Nice centre, though.
5 years was my previous longest.
Yeah.
It was a really lovely centre. I mean, it was at the heart of the community. It was very much a community shopping centre where people didn't have a lot of money, but they were constantly in and out, you know, and it had the Poundlands and the Wilcos and those kind of things. It was a really vibrant centre of a town.
Yeah.
And it was a pig of a place to drive to from Streatham.
Yeah.
12 miles took on a good day 45 minutes. COVID, 30 minutes. That was incredible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think my worst journey home was 3 hours where I almost was in tears thinking, I don't know where to go now because I can't get anywhere at all. But yeah, I think we did a lot of good things. But again, you know, I was working with the Chamber of Commerce. Yep. We were involved with the local authority, trying to create a business improvement district before COVID hit, and then it just all went slightly wrong. Yeah. I was really, really proud of it. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was no Royal Exchange, but it was an amazing shopping centre in the middle of a bustling town.
Yeah, of course.
Which was unfortunately bought by developers who thought that they would destroy it and possibly will, possibly won't. I don't know.
Who needs shops, eh? Yeah.
Well, exactly. Who needs shops?
Yeah. And that
retail's dead, allegedly.
Well, allegedly. Keeps making a comeback though, doesn't it?
It really does, yeah.
So and that obviously brings you to where you are now.
So there we are. That's a very potted history.
No, it's a very good history though. An interesting history.
Yeah.
I think it's a thing. So let me ask you a couple of questions with regards to your career that we think may help, you know, young people looking to move into the industry. And let's talk specifically in shopping centre management, you know, because it is a very diverse, interesting career. What piece of advice would you give to someone that was looking to move into that sphere?
That's a really good question. And I think, as I said to the kids that we had a visit from at the beginning of the week, I don't necessarily think that every single person has to go to university to get jobs.
I completely agree.
In various places. Saddling yourself with that enormous debt before you've even taken your first paycheck, to me, just seems like a horrendous starting point.
Crazy.
And I think explore opportunities, spend time with people, engage with them, ask questions, bug people, you know, ask them to tell you their potted history about what they've done. Just be interested in people and they will spend the time and be interested with you. There were 2 or 3 kids at the beginning of the week that literally they almost had to be dragged away because they were like, well, you don't have to go to university. And I was like, no, you don't have to do that.
But that's the fascinating thing. It's our schools that, that's the only way that you can be successful.
I know.
I know so many successful people that didn't go to school.
I can remember one
university,
before I started shopping centre and I was looking for a secretarial role.
Yeah.
The woman on the end of the phone said, and what's your degree in?
Yeah.
I said, I haven't got a degree.
Yeah.
I said, if I had a degree, why would I want to be a secretary? But it seems to be now that if you haven't got a degree, you can't do anything, which is just ridiculous. I mean, I work for Workman now, and they have an apprentice scheme.
Yeah.
So they take people who don't have degrees but want to get into property.
Yeah.
And in fact, the guy that I worked with at Hounslow, who's just now been put on the Royal Exchange, Alex, he's worked with Workman for 5 years.
Right.
He is just about to start all of his APC stuff.
Right.
But he's been 5 years learning on the job.
Yeah.
So he loves it. He's got an inordinate amount of experience, confidence. He can talk to clients or tenants, or he's got those skills that he's learnt being in an office and on an apprenticeship scheme, which I think is great. And I think there aren't enough apprenticeship schemes around for people.
I completely agree, because I think sometimes, look, I'm not knocking further education.
No,
it has its place, without a doubt. But I think, when you go to further education, you tend to learn how to work very limited hours and drink well. Whereas in the facilities management sector, you can learn how to work long hours and still drink well.
Exactly. Exactly. I think there's not enough information around. I think there's not enough. I mean, this podcast is a great idea for talking about, I am a very good example of somebody in probably one of the most prestigious buildings in London, in our capital city, that started with 2 O-levels and a GCSE.
Yeah.
So you don't have to have had all of that education.
Yeah.
Yes, a lot of it is good luck, and I was in the right place at the right time.
Yes.
But I was enthusiastic. I am, as you've said yourself about you, I am quite gobby. I get involved. I want to know what are you doing? Why are you doing that? How are we doing this? And I would never ask anybody to do anything that I'm not quite willing to do myself. Standing in the Brunswick car park when it was full of a sewerage break, thinking I am literally standing in poo.
Yeah.
But you just have to get on with these things, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I would disagree about the luck thing, Janet, because as Liam Neeson very famously said, I've acquired lots of skills over a very long career.
Yeah.
But it is very, very true. Like, whatever you have experienced throughout your career has got you to where you are now.
Definitely.
And whether you're, doesn't matter what age you are, you can condense it, it can be learnt over a longer period. But ultimately you are where you're meant to be because of the being gobby, because you've asked questions. So I wouldn't say it's luck. I think it's because you put yourself out there and you've tried to achieve the things that you wanted to achieve.
I think the luck was the very first little bit,
Maybe,
ending up working for Eileen. If it hadn't been for Eileen and her giving me that opportunity, when you talk about mentors, for me, that was her. Yeah. And that was the pivotal moment for me where somebody gave me an opportunity and I was able to take real advantage of it. Yeah. And if I hadn't had that opportunity, I would probably, nothing wrong with it, but still be working in offices as a secretary, PA, probably in a great big law firm, hopefully with a load of benefits and earning lots of money like some of my mates are. Yeah. But she was the person that said, oh, all right, you can have the job, but also let me send you to night school because you're interested in marketing. Yeah. And then the guy in Wimbledon that said, let me send you and do a diploma. And it's only because I think probably they just wanted to shut me up. And it's like, if we just get her to go on this course, she might stop asking me all the questions and leave me in peace.
I don't know. I'm a firm believer that probably what they thought is, I think that this individual will actually do what because there's a lot of people that, throughout your life you invest in people and you invest it's either time or it's resources or it's salaries or it's whatever. Yeah. And not everybody you invest in gives you back what you would expect you know, to get back. So there was probably lots of examples in their career as mentors and things like that, where they'd done something with similar individuals, but perhaps not got back the level of enthusiasm that they got from you.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I say to people all the time is, you know, enthusiasm is key.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, I left school with nothing. I've got a pretty good job. I do all right. You know what I mean? And I'm a Northern Oink, as I like to say, at the end of the day. But I'm a Northern Oink doing well in London.
Yeah,
you know? And I'm very proud of that. But I know that there was a lot of hard work that went behind it, and a lot of experience and stupid mistakes and bad decisions and
upset and grief.
Yeah, of course. But that's sort of part of the journey, isn't it? It gets a lot easier when you get to 40, I reckon. You know what I mean? Like I've found life a lot easier. So, since I hit 40, it's just a bit. So I'll chill down a little bit, if that makes sense.
No, definitely.
Like it's come together. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, definitely. And I always think I get paid to go shopping. Frankly, what could be better than that?
Not bad, that is it?
It's not a bad gig, is it really?
It's all right. Not too bad.
Although my problem now at the Royal Exchange is that I can't actually afford to shop in any of the shops at the Royal Exchange.
Come on, you must get a discount. Is there a discount somewhere?
There's 1 or 2 discounts.
I think me and you might have to become besties. Especially with Christmas coming up, you know.
The landlord made me go into Hermes to ask for a discount, and that was probably one of my most embarrassing moments ever.
No, why? What did they say?
Darling, unless you are Beyonce or Prince Harry, we don't really give discounts.
Honestly, even Prince Harry still gets a discount. After everything he's done. What's going on? Hey?
I think it was before he defected.
Before he defected with Meghan?
Yeah, but
no way.
I mean, I love them in Hermes because they are very Hermes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just like, oh my God, I'm mortified that you've made me go in and ask for a discount. I hadn't been here very long, so I hadn't got the...
So your boss knew it? It was like sending the...
No, he didn't
The apprentice out for tartan paint.
It probably was, yeah, exactly. Yeah, go and ask for a long stand or something, you know. But yeah, exactly. But yeah.
Okay, so moving away from sort of that. So you've obviously, you know, it's been a very interesting career path that you've taken on. Obviously, you'll be aware of the focus across ESG over the last couple of years. How have you found the changes with regards to how that is now viewed by the industry compared to how it was viewed, say, 10, 15 years ago? Because it's changed, hasn't it, in terms of our approach to it?
I think it has. Well, it has, definitely. There's no think about it. And I think some shopping centre owners that I've been involved with are far more engaged with it than others.
Yeah.
I would say that it's a challenging one for this building because it's a Grade 1 listed building.
It's very difficult to do.
Which frankly trumps anything. You know, the DDA report, the fire door report, the changing the lights, the this, that and the other. I've got a Grade 1 listed building. It kind of, that's the top trumps. There is, you know.
Oh, don't you worry, Ed Miliband's on the case.
Those steps aren't high enough. It doesn't matter, they're Grade 1 listed. Okay, all right, we'll just let people stumble up them then, that's fine.
Before you know, Ed Miliband will have windmills on the front.
Solar panels on the roof.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
You will.
So yeah, I think, but what we do is, we try and get involved in the charity things that are going on. So the Lord Mayor, who sits in the building opposite us at Mansion House, has a charitable organisation, and they do a city giving day, which basically all the businesses around here get involved, and there's treasure hunts and quiz nights and people running and doing walks and cycling and climbing up Leadenhall and all sorts of things going on. So we try and support in terms of whatever we can from that point of view. And the usual low-hanging fruit, you know, the LED light bulbs and all of that kind of thing.
Course,
But I think there are other shopping centre owners who are interested in how much electricity are you consuming? How much water are you consuming? What can we do to reduce all of that? You know, and every single thing is monitored and captured and detailed in reports and things. So I think there is a big, quite rightly, impetus for being as environmentally friendly, socially responsible as one can.
Yeah.
I mean, I was laughing today with the security guard. I even take my recycling home with me because we haven't got the facilities to recycle everything here. So I wash it and I carry it home and put it in the recycling at home. He said, what are you doing with that tuna fish can? I said, I'm taking it home. I said, because I need to recycle it and we can't recycle it here. So I'm taking it home with me.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, it is the little things though, isn't it?
Well, I'd like to think
you can't do X, Y, Z.
I'm not sure that the local authority doesn't just shove it in the same landfill hole, but I'm not sure.
Or ship it to China.
Or ship it to China.
Yeah.
But yeah, and we've put certain initiatives in place. So we're all recycling glass in the bars downstairs.
Yeah.
We're all recycling food, whereas before it was a bit, excuse the pun, a bit piecemeal. Fortnum's didn't recycle food. The Libertine did. So now we've got everybody doing the same thing.
So you've created a consistent approach across all the retailers and restaurateurs and things like that.
Yeah, we've tried to pull everybody together instead of them all standalone now.
Well, that's a massive achievement, to be fair, because there's a lot of occupiers here, isn't there? So to get a uniformity approach is
and they were all doing their own thing. They were all paying their own money, and we've sort of gathered it all together and said, well, I'm hoping that it will save them money in the long run because we're all doing the same thing and there's only one waste contractor coming.
Yeah.
It's even the fact that there's only one bin lorry coming instead of 3 different bin lorries coming. So they're all polluting, outside or electric vehicles or whatever they are. So yes, where we can, we've looked to do as much as we can, but we are very limited in what we've got in this building.
That's understandable, given the nature and size
exactly.
To be fair. Okay, so let me ask you an interesting question. Let's say I pop you in the Wear Many Hats time machine.
Yes.
Send you all the way back to when you started your career in facilities management.
Yes.
20 or so years ago. What advice would you give to your younger self about coming into the industry? Would you tell them to do something different?
No, I've absolutely adored it.
Yeah.
I feel like this is where I belong.
Yeah.
I've thoroughly enjoyed it. If I was clever enough, I would have been a marine biologist, but I'm not clever enough because everything under the sea fascinates me, scares me, because I always hear the Jaws music when I go snorkeling.
Yeah.
But fascinates me. And if I couldn't have been that, I didn't know that at the time. I only knew when I got to my sort of mid-20s and thought, But I was in this and I thought, but no, this is absolutely...
It's what I wanted to be when I was a child, a marine biologist.
Did it? It's so funny,
I was obsessed with sharks.
Well, I love a shark.
Yeah,
oh my God, I love them.
Obsessed. There's nothing I don't know about sharks.
Really?
These guys, I am a repository for the most useless information in the world. There's not many things I don't know about, unfortunately.
Fantastic.
Have you heard I like a conspiracy theory. Have you heard a conspiracy theory about the aliens living in cities under the sea?
No, I don't do conspiracy theory.
I'll tell you all about that in the pub. It's a good one.
Okay, yeah, I think we might need to have a drink to go with that conspiracy theory.
Or maybe 3.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Well, listen.
So it is definitely where I belong.
So no regrets.
Absolutely none.
Fantastic.
A bit of a dip in the middle, and the Network Rail thing was a hump in the road.
That wasn't your fault. That was the bankers, Janet. It was them.
Even that got me on the path to where I am now.
Yeah,
I am a believer that everything happens for a reason.
I completely agree.
And I think that happened for a reason. And this is my reason now.
Yeah, without a doubt. Okay. What do you like to do outside of work?
What do I do outside of work? Well, the dog, wherever she's gone, I walk the dog. I like socialising. Frankly, I like sitting on my sofa and watching the telly because I don't seem to be able to spend a lot of time doing that.
Fair enough.
Cinema, reading, holidays. I like a hot holiday.
Oh, yeah? How hot?
As hot as it can be, really.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, like 40 odd degrees?
Oh, yeah. All over that.
No way.
Yeah.
Really?
As long as there's a pool and a cocktail, very happy.
I can't cope with it, mate. Anything over like 32, 33?
No, be all right with that. Yeah. So, 2 or 3, maybe 4 holidays a year.
5, 6.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I haven't got kids, so I've got nobody else to spend my money on.
No,
so.
fair enough. Don't blame you. I would do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, that kind of brings us to the end of the podcast. Janet, how have you found it?
Yeah.
Have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, it's just like chatting to mates, isn't it, really?
Well, that's what we try and do.
Yeah.
The only thing we're missing is a glass of wine for you and a beer for me.
Exactly. Let's go and do it.
Yeah, let's go and do it. Well, listen, I'd like to thank you, Janet, for taking the time to come and join us at Wear Many Hats. It's been a really interesting podcast, learning about your career and also the advice that you would give to people looking to move into it. And thank you for hosting us at the Royal Exchange. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Please come back.
Oh, we will.
A lot.
Oh, we will. Definitely. And as I said, guys, remember, please come and visit the Royal Exchange. It does look amazing outside. Bring your kids because they will absolutely love it if you want to get in the Christmas mood. Well, that brings us to the end of another episode of Royal Many Hats. As ever, if you can't be good, be bad. Bye-bye.